Hola, soy Eli y este es el informe de mal tiempo. Y tenemos 3 tormentas. Pero primero, tormenta tropical Barry. Sí, una tormenta tropical ahora. Esta tormenta, los peligros afectando tierras son lluvias más fuertes y viento. Y por el Servicio Meteorológico Nacional, lluvias moderadas a fuertes asociadas al desplazamiento de la depresión tropical número 2 sobre la península. Sí, lluvias moderadas con chubascos aislados, 5 a 50 milímetros por hora. Sí, es la verdad. Y aquí en el noroeste Pacífico, hay una tormenta tropical Leepi. Y aquí, por el JTWC, es una perspectiva, una zona de probabilidad, pero por la JMA es una depresión tropical con sin nombre. Es una depresión tropical sin nombre, sí. Avisos de marina. Hay unas pocas. Avisos de gale, sí. Y casi gale. Aquí, gale, sí. Sí. Y aquí hay una zona de probabilidad muy baja por la BOME. Esta es en Australia, sí. Y aquí una perturbación tropical 95 WP. Pero no tiene una perspectiva por la JTWC. Sí, ese es todo. Sí. So yes, we go back over here where we see Tropical Storm Barry. Barry was not supposed to turn into a tropical storm per yesterday's forecast, but then they sent out, the Air Force reconnaissance flying thingy. I think it's called a plane. And it determined that it was a tropical storm strength now. So now it has a name, Tropical Storm Barry, the second named storm of the season in the Atlantic. So rainfall and winds expected with that, and there's a warning in effect per the SMN, right, for lluvias moderadas and fuertes and so forth. Yes, and there's a tropical storm warning in effect for Punta El Largato to Barra de Natla, Mexico, or algo así. And then with Leepi, we've got Leepi has in effect, there's a whole bunch of gale marine-related warnings out there. And then, let's see, this thing over here, which the JTWC only has, by the way, here's a satellite of Leepi, or Leepi, I have no idea on that one. This thing, JTWC is still just calling this one a zone of probability, but the JMA, if we go back, is actually calling this a tropical depression now. They don't give them, it seems to be the same in the Northwest Pacific, that they don't give it a name until it reaches tropical storm strength, unless we're talking about the Pegasa. The second it becomes a tropical depression, they give it their own name. Like, this is Imong / Leepi. Imong or whatnot is Pegasa's name for that. And then, yes, per the Bureau of Meteorology back here, very low chance of tropical cyclone formation for this area over here. So yes, that is, oh yes, and of course this thing, this 95 WP, but there's no outlook area on that one as of yet, or possibly not at all. So yes, that is what is going on. Now we turn on everything. Yes. So that is what is happening in the land of tropical cyclones. Yes, there you go, there's Barry. In the land of severe thunderstorm weather in the US specifically, we've got one watch in effect. There's significant winds and hail today, but the watch is actually not for that area. The watch in effect is for New Mexico and Texas until 8 p.m. Mountain Time this evening. The warnings that were in effect as of the time I load the page were all in the southern areas, but if you look at the actual probability map, where both the highest possibility for wind and the highest possibility for hail, and also the black hatch there is, which we'll talk about in a second, there's not even a watch in effect for that stuff yet. So that stuff has not yet kicked off as of the time that I am speaking, yes. So, on this wind map, what it's showing is, in general, the probability of winds 58 miles per hour and greater, and then in the black hatched area is where there's the increased threat for significant winds. So instead of 58 miles per hour and greater, 75 miles per hour and greater, and that would be, if it were sustained winds, it would be roughly equivalent to a Category 1 hurricane. But I believe with the Saffir-Simpson scale, it has to be sustained winds over a minute or something of the sort at 75 miles per hour, whereas this can just be a gust. A gust that happens very briefly and can be extremely destructive, but it's not like 75 miles per hour winds necessarily over the minute. And on the hail map is both in general the probability of 1 inch or larger hail, and then in the black hatched area where there's the increased threat of 2 inch or larger hail. And, well, actually, if you combine that with the increased threat for very strong winds, you could get some very dangerous hail with, you know, if you've got a hailstone and it's being driven quite quickly into a house or a car, that could be quite destructive. Tornado-wise, where there's the highest threat of hail and wind is where there's also the highest threat of a tornado today, with as high as a 5% up there, and then 2% for this area there. Tomorrow, again with the significant, and if you look up the word tornado, it says perhaps, quizás unos pocos tornados. So perhaps a few tornadoes with that. So this is probably going to be for very large hail and possibly very strong winds. Don't know yet, but that's your black hatch area. Same story with the day after tomorrow, and where it says a few tornadoes. Now this actually does reference, I see that, very large hail. So this, again, could be the threat of 2, or the increased threat of 2 inch or larger hail. That's day 3. Days 4 through 8, again, predictability too low. That's what it's been. Several days in a row. So there is stuff potentially going to happen, but right now, not yet certain enough. SevereWeatherTV.com is the official homepage of the screencast. WickedWix is WICKEDWX.com. CycloCane is CYCLOCANE.com. And that is it for today. There we go. Let's zoom in. And hopefully you're staying safe out there.